Hello everyone, this is Navin Reddy from Telusko Learnings. In this video, we'll be creating a simple Spring MVC application using Maven build tool, and we'll deploy this application on Openshift server for free. Now, before starting with this video, you have some prerequisite. You should know what is Spring MVC, basics of Spring MVC. You should know what is Maven, how to use Maven, and you should have an account on Openshift server. So if you don't know how to do this, I will paste. I have tutorials on this also. I will have. You can see you will find all those links in the description area. So now let's start with the application itself. The first step, you have to create a OpenShift account. So if you don't have an account, you can just sign up for free. Again, I'm not promoting OpenShift server. Whenever you want to deploy your app on any web server, you can use OpenShift. You can use Amazon Web Services. You can use Google App Engine. I feel one of the best server which is free is OpenShift. So I'm going for OpenShift. It is powered by Red Hat. So you can see it is by Red Hat. So you can trust this server. So just go to my account, click on OpenShift Web Console, and if you have an account, just enter your details and click on sign in. Now once you got into the account, you have to say add application. Now when you click on add application, it will ask you for the server type, which is, in my case, I'll be using JBoss server, or you can also use Apache Tomcat, but time being, let's work with JBoss app server. We have to enter a name. Since I already have a application name as login, so you can enter login there, because you'll be creating a login application, and then click on create application. Now when you click on create application, it will take some time, maybe half a minute to 1 minute, because it will create an application on OpenShift server. It will take some time. So just click on create application. Okay. So once you click on create application, you'll be getting an application here, which is login application. Okay. Now once you're done with this, now we need to fetch this on your local machine, which is in your Eclipse. Now to do this, we need to first install OpenShift plugin in your Eclipse. So to do that, go to Eclipse Marketplace, and here we need to search for OpenShift. Okay, once you search for OpenShift, it will show you JBoss tools. You have to install this. Now after installing JBoss tool, you need to import your project from Eclipse. Now how to import? So right click here and say import, and select OpenShift. So you can see in your list you'll be having OpenShift. Click on existing OpenShift application, click on next. It will ask you for the username and password. So let me enter my username, which is teluskovideos@gmail.com, and ***, that's my password. Now we'll change the connection type. We'll say new connection. Oh, again we will type. So Telusko videos @gmail.com, and that's the password. Let me click on next. It will take some time for verification. Okay, now once it is verified, it will ask you for, are you going for the existing application, or you want to create a new application? So we'll use the existing one from the server. So you can simply browse your application which is there on the server. So we already have a login application there. So click on OK, and here we need to click on finish. Now again, it will take some time to fetch your data from the server. So it says cloning from server. Okay, so it's not working. Just click on next instead of clicking on, yeah. So we need to click on next, not finish. And here we have to select, we need to create a new project on the local side. So click on next. Now here you need to make sure you have a particular key to work with. So click on SSH2 preference and click on key management. You have to say generate RSA key, Click on OK. You'll be getting your own key for pushing and click on finish. Now it will download your project from your Openshift server. Now it is not directly linked, so your Eclipse will be linked with Git and Git will be fetching data from the server. It says there is some error here. Let me again create a key. Okay, let's try once again. Once again we got the error, so I apologize for that. First step, we need to create a key wizard. We need to create a new key. So we'll click on new here and we'll name this key as maybe demo key, or we'll say this as login key, and we'll enter a file name which is again login key. So it will give you a login key pub. We assign a password for this and we'll say we can use any password here. Make sure you remember this password for a long time. And okay, now click on finish. Now you have generated a new key for you. Okay, now go to preference. I think it should work. It will work now. Yeah, so we have added a key. So let's try now. Okay, now once you say finish, it will ask you for a key. So enter the key you have mentioned before some time. Okay, so you can see it is importing the project from the server. Click on finish and you can see we got our project here. Now this is your Maven project which is coming from the server side. Okay, that's your login. So in Maven you have a file called as pom.xml, which is very important file for Spring. Okay, so what we'll be doing, we need to first change this. So if you have seen my Spring MVC tutorial before, I will recommend to watch that video first, because in that video I have shown how to add Spring libraries in Maven. And so if you already know how to add it, so I have already created a project here. We will just reuse that project here, and I will copy all my dependencies from this file. So these are the dependencies we needed, right? So let's copy this and we'll paste it here. Okay, so with jboss, and oh, we also need junit. We don't require junit here. We'll paste it and it will download from repository, maybe a local repository or remote repository. Okay, so once we have done with the POM file, let's see what are the things we have here. So when you expand your src folder, you'll be having a main, and in this you have, in web app you have some file which is index.html. Okay, so first thing we need is we require a form using which you will send some data. You will send a request, right? So we'll use the same file. We'll remove everything from head to the details we have given. Okay, and delete. So what we need a body tag. Why we need a body tag? Let's directly create a form tag. So let's create a form tag here. In this form tag, we'll mention an action and we'll say just login. Okay, we need to send two details here. First will be input. Okay, the first is input. We'll say type equal to text, and we'll name this as uname. Then we require a break. Here we'll say type equal to, since we are entering the password, we'll say password. Name, we'll say this is pass. Okay, and we also need a button to submit, so we'll say this is input type equal to submit. That sounds weird. That's a kit. Yeah, so once you click on this button, it will call for login. But we don't have any controller. We don't. I hope you know about Spring MVC again. So I'm talking about Spring MVC controls. I'm talking about Spring MVC dispatcher servlet, all those things. So I will say, if you don't know what is Spring MVC, do watch the earlier videos, or you can search for the playlist in the description. Do watch that video first and then come back to this video. Okay, because it's not possible to teach to take everything in this video or the demo or the what's the basics of Spring MVC. So now let's continue with the controllers. So things we need is the src file here, which is not src file. We require these two files. One is your web.xml file, because in this we'll be using, we need to set this thing, right, the servlet mapping. So I'm using servlet mapping from here. So what is the servlet mapping? For every request we need to call dispatcher servlet. So copy, and let me open the web.xml file of the new page and we'll paste it here. That means for every request we need to call dispatcher servlet. Now what next? We also need this file, which is, so this is your Spring configuration file, which is for dispatcher servlet. We'll copy the whole file and we'll create that file here. Instead of having a name called as Telusko, we'll say this is login, because we are building a login application. Again, name doesn't matter, but make sure you have the same name. Okay, and let's create that file in this login also. So right click, new, and we'll say this is XML file. XML file, we'll say next, and we'll name this file as login hyphen servlet.xml, and we'll paste our data here. Okay, now once you got your data, we need to also create a controller, right? So how to create controller here? So let me close all this thing, extra things. Okay, now how to create a controller? So in this src, which is in Java, right click and say new Java class, not there, so we'll say other Java class, click on next. Now you have to enter a class here. We'll say this is login controller, and we'll provide a package which is com.login. Okay, now you have to make sure this package, you should remember this package, which is com.login. So in this file, which is login hyphen servlet, we need to mention, instead of com.telusko, we have to mention com.login. Okay, we have to mention a proper package name there. Now in this login controller, the first thing you have to set a annotation, which is controller, and this controller will check for a method which is public int, and we'll say public int. It returns a int value. Why it would return an int value? It should return a model and view object, and we'll name this as check details or check user. Now this will take two parameters. One is HTTP request object, HTTP servlet request object. We'll say this is request, or REQ will do, and then next is HTTP servlet response. We'll say this is RES, and we need to create object of model and view so that you can send data, and the the view name, we'll say new model and view object. Okay, now what's the error? Okay, and then we need to return MV object, because since we are mentioning return type here. Now we need to also map this method with a type of request. So you have to say request mapping, and then you have to mention for which request you are sending this data. So the request type is for login. Now this login is your HTML file request. So in this HTML we are mentioning login, right? So we need to mention login here, the same thing. Now here we need to fetch those two details which is sent by the user. So user will send two details. One is string uname, and we'll fetch this using request dot get parameter, and here you need to mention uname, and we have string password, which will be fetched using request parameter, that is your pass. Now once you got these two details, let's verify. Now how to verify? We can simply say we'll not take database at the first time, we'll try to run it locally. So we'll simply say if uname dot, just for verification if you're doing everything right, we'll say equals, if that equals maybe ABC, username should be ABC, and password or pass dot equals. If this is equal to 123, then we need to say we will return a page which is success page. Okay, now how to return success page? We can simply say mv dot set view name as view name. It's view name as success or success dot JSP. So we need to also create a JSP page here. Okay, and then we'll say else it will set view name or view name as again a same page which is index.html. So we'll call the same page again if you are getting an error. Okay, so we don't have a success.jsp page, so we'll create a success.jsp page here in web app. So in web app you have to right click, say new JSP page, and we'll name this page as success.jsp, and it will print here welcome. That's it. So we'll just print welcome there. Okay, so I think everything is set. Let's run this code and run. So we need to run this locally first so that we will test. So you should have a Tomcat installed in your system so that you can test it locally. We'll click on Nest and finish. So it will open your default browser. Oh, error. We are sending a request for, I think I have made a mistake in web XML file. For all the requests, we are sending data to this. Okay, everything seems perfect. Where's my login page? Login page is outside this. It's not working. Let me do something. Let me create a new index.js page. And we'll copy this data and we'll paste into index.jsp. And let's run this now. Okay, so now we got two things, which is, I don't know from where I'm getting this Jones and details. So make sure you use index.jsp, and here we'll mention the username, which is ABC, and password is 123. And if I click on submit, you can see it says welcome. If I enter wrong details, submit, it calls the same page, which is, it should be, okay, we need to change one more thing. Instead of index.html, we should mention index.jsp. Okay, it will take some time to load again, right? So you will get the same page. Now we have created a project using only static values. Now we need to also connect it with database, right? So what's the database we have? So we need to create one more class which will connect with database, right? Because whenever we talk about your which is a Spring MVC application, so all the processing is done at the service level or service layer. So we need to also create a class which is for service. So we'll say this is a class and we'll name this as login service. We can use any package. We can say com.login.service package. Now in this class, we need to verify the data with the database. Again, for database, we need to create one more layer, which is DAO layer. So service will call DAO, but just for the example, because my main intention is to show you how to connect with database, or how to connect your Spring with database. So especially on Openshift server. So we'll say we need to create a method which is public. It will return you a int value or a boolean value. If login was successful, it will return boolean value. And we'll say this is as check. Okay, we need to pass two values. One is your string uname and second is your string pass. So we need to send these two details. By default we'll return, let's return false. In future we'll change this to true. Okay, now how to verify? But to verify this we need a database, right? So whenever you connect with database, we need to specify the first thing, which is we need to specify everything in try catch first. So we write a catch block, because we know whenever we work with database, we need to do this thing, because database connection will throw a checked exception, so we have to handle this, and we'll print the error here. So that's the boilerplate code we need to write. Now in this, we need to first connect with class.forName. We need to specify the database name, which is com.mysql.jdbc.driver, because we are working with MySQL. Now next is we need to create a connection. So we'll say connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection. In this, you need to pass 3 parameters. Okay, now the first parameter we'll be using is string URL. The second parameter we'll be using is we'll say u, which is username, and third will be p, which is password. Okay, so we need to mention these 3 things, and we'll also import the package. Okay, so we need to mention these 3 things. So what is my username? I don't know. Or what is my URL? I don't know. What is my password? I don't know, because everything is set up on the server. So we need to fetch these 3 details before continuing. Now from where to fetch? Again, go to your Openshift server. So in your application, which is login, we don't have any database server. How to add database server? You can simply click on add MySQL here, which is also free. When you click on add MySQL, it will say, okay, add cartridge. It will take some time. Okay, so it's waiting for the server. Okay, by the time it is adding your cartridge, which is added here. Now this is your URL. Okay, this is your username and this is your password. But hold on, we got a database, but we don't have a table. Now how to create a table? So for creating table, we need to use command line, and of course I'm not that good with command line, so we need to add something called as PHP myadmin, so that you can control your database with a GUI. So also add your PHP myadmin. Now once your PHP myadmin is set, yeah, it will take some time now for setting. Okay, now once it is set, this is your username, this is, so you have to remember these things. Okay, now from where you will get your URL, so let me just copy this code so that we'll be having something there. Okay, so let me comment this and put it there so that we can just directly copy paste it. So that's your username and password for the database, which is on the server. First we need to create a database, so a table. So we have to go to this URL so that you can, or you can also click on this. You can see there's an icon here. So if you click on that icon, it will open your PHP myadmin. We need to enter username password, which is specified here. So that's your username. So you can just copy this, paste it here, and this is your password. Paste and click on login. Now once you click on login, okay, it is just trying to log into your PHP myadmin. Okay, so it is set now. Now this is the server IP address you have to remember. So you can also copy this into your system. So this is your IP address for the server. And the default port number for MySQL is 3306. Okay, now let's create your table here. So we got a database which is login. In this login database, let's create a table. We'll name this table as user. We'll be having 2 columns, username and password, that's it, nothing else. We'll click on go. The first is uname. We'll be having varchar type, varchar. The second will be pass, and even this will be varchar. Okay, length will specify as 55 and 55. That's it. Click on save. Now you got your table. You also need to insert some data. For username, we'll enter what? We'll say Naveen, and password is Telusko. So we have a username which is Navin and the password which is Telusko. So just remember this, Navin username and Telusko password, because I may forgot this. So Navin and Telusko. Okay, go. So we got your data here, and if you search for the data or this browse, so it says you have username Navin and password Telusko. So we got a database, we got our database on the Openshift server. Now let's connect this with your thing. So what is the URL? So URL will be always jdbc colon MySQL colon what? So you have to mention colon double slash, and this is your connection string. So that's your what is your IP address, give slash, and then you have to mention your database name. Database name is again login. Username is this one, so this is your username. Copy this and paste. This is your password. Copy and paste. So we got username and password. In this double quotes you have to mention URL. Here you need to mention username, and here you have to mention password. Cool. So that's your connection. Next is we need to create a statement object. So we'll use prepare statement. So prepared statement, we'll say pst equal to con dot prepare statement. In this you need to mention the let's mention the query. The query we have to use is select star from table which is user, where uname is equal to question mark and pass is equal to question mark. Now we need to set this value, so we'll say pst dot set string. For the first one, we'll set this as uname, which is coming from the user, so you have to set this uname. And the second one, which is pst dot set string, for the second variable or the second question mark, we need to mention pass. Now once you have set these two things, we need to execute this query. So we'll say pst dot execute query, which will return you a result set. So we'll say result set rs equal to pst dot execute query. Okay, let's import the package for this. Okay, now we'll check if rs or rs dot next, if we have any row with that name, then it will say yes, I have a new row with that details. So we'll return here true, otherwise it will be false. So that's how you have to verify with the database. Now your false will be to controller. So instead of checking these values here, simply create an object, or we can delete this part. Okay, we need that part. Okay, so instead of checking this, what we'll do is we'll create a new login object, login service dot, we'll say check by passing those two values. If it returns true, it will call success.jsp. If it returns false, it will call index.jsp. Simple, right? And that's it. I think I'm tired now by talking so much in one video. Okay, so now I think everything is set. Is it? Let's try. Now this time we need to deploy your app on the server, because if you open your app now, if you click on this link, it will open your web page, and your web page is this, which is not your data, right? So we need to push your content to the server. You can see we have lots of question marks here. So this question mark simply means you have. So your question mark simply means that you have not this is not updated on the server, or this is not updated on the, or not synced with Git. So you have to say that we need to team it with the server. So you have to right click on your project again, go to team, and then there's the option of commit. So click on commit. You can mention updated project. We have to select all the files because we have made changes in lots of files, so you have to select everything. You have to make sure you follow this step, because if you make one mistake, again it will give you some conflict. Okay, so you make sure you select everything and click on commit and push. Now once you click on commit and push, it will take some time to push your data on the server. So time being, I'm pausing the video so that I will not waste your time. Okay, so once you have pushed on the server, so it will give you this option and you have to select, click on OK. Now it will take at least 5 seconds to make all those changes on the server. So we'll wait for 5 seconds and let's go to server. Let's enter with the hope. And it's going on, it's going on, it's going on. Because we don't want index.html, we want index.jsp. So we'll call directly index.jsp page. Okay, I hope it will work. Let me zoom a bit. Okay, so let's enter the detail, which is Navin and Telusko. So finger crossed and click on submit. Boom. So we got a welcome page. That means we have connected your server with the database. Let me do one more thing. Let me try with a different username. So we'll say different password maybe. If I click on submit, oh, it calls the same page again. Awesome. Just for the verification, let me enter one more column in the database. So we'll enter, let's say, demo user, and password is 1234. Go. Let's verify demo now. So demo 1234. Submit. It's working, right? So that's how we need to connect your Spring MVC application with MySQL database on the server. There's one more thing. Spring provides you a feature of dependency injection. Spring provides you a feature of Spring JDBC, so you can use those features as well. So my main intention is not to teach you what is Spring JDBC. My main intention is to how to connect Spring MVC project with database or with MySQL database on Openshift server. So that's from this video. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe for further videos, okay? Because in future I'll be uploading lots of Spring videos. So thank you.